This video will introduce you to some basic Git commands for downloading and querying repositories. The first Git operation we'll explore is called fork. The fork command takes an existing repository, usually that's created or owned by someone else, and creates an exact copy that is owned by you. That gives you the ability to change the contents of the repository however you want without affecting the original copy. The easiest way to fork a repository is to visit the repository's page on GitHub. Try visiting the Storytelling with Data webpage by navigating to github.com/contextlab/storytellingwithdata hyphenated. You'll notice a fork button in the upper right. Press the button to create a fork. You'll be redirected to the page for your new fork. Congrats! You now have full write access to all of the contents of the repository. One important thing to note is that fork works just like a fork in the road. The new path that you create may have originated from the previous path, but once you start traveling down the new forked path, it will behave as its own road. In other words, any changes made to the original repository after the time you created the fork will not automatically propagate to the new fork. And similarly, any changes you make to your forked repository will not automatically affect the original repository that the fork is based on. The next Git operation we'll cover is called clone. Cloning is how you copy a repository from GitHub's servers to your local computer. The clonable address of a Git repository is a file path or URL ending in .git. To find your repository's address, go to your repository's page on GitHub and click the green button that says Clone or Download. Copy the address from the text box that pops up. Now go to your terminal window or command prompt. If you haven't used the command line to navigate your computer before, you should pause this tutorial and watch the command line basics tutorial linked to in the description below. Use your command line to navigate to a directory that you'll remember later. This is the folder on your computer where you'll be saving the Git repository that you'll download next. Good options are your home directory, your documents folder, your desktop, or a dedicated subfolder that you can create in your home directory. Type Git Clone and then paste the address you copied from the GitHub page, something like https://github.com/your username/storytellingwithdata.git, and press return to run the command. You should see some text printed out to the terminal that shows the files from the repository downloading. Depending on your connection speed, it could take a while for everything to finish. The repository will be saved in a folder called Storytelling with Data, located inside of the folder you're currently in. When you clone a Git repository to your local computer, it does two things. First, it copies all of the files from the repository onto your computer. And second, it copies a log that tracks all versions of each of those files. When you modify any file tracked by Git, the version of the file on your local machine becomes out of sync with Git's log. That mismatch can be detected by Git. When you type git status inside the repository's folder, you'll see a list of all the files that changed between Git's latest log and the versions on your local machine. In general, there are three basic status messages that you are likely to encounter on a regular basis. If you've modified or deleted one or more files in the repository, you'll see them listed under the heading Changes Not Staged for Commit. Modified files will be listed next to a tag that says Modified, and deleted files will be listed next to a tag that says Deleted. A third status message you might see appears when you've added a file to the repository's folder. New files will appear under the heading Untracked Files. The status command also prints out helpful hints for how to handle these messages. For example, the status command will print out instructions for restoring deleted files, adding new files, and logging any modifications to existing files as appropriate. In the next video, we'll review some commands for modifying your repository.